Hello, everyone. Well, it's that time of year again. It's the time of year for purification. And purification is the beginning of our preparation for Festival of the Maiden. Yes, we get to celebrate the Festival of the Maiden, and I'm getting to the purification part later on in this video. If you just turned in to find out when purification was happening, it's going to be Wednesday, February 8th. So Wednesday, February 8th, that's when purification starts for this year. Now I want to get into a subject that's probably very touchy for a lot of people, and a lot of people are hurting about it, and that's Tyre Nichols. Tyre Nichols was murdered by the police for nothing more than swerving into another lane in front of their cop car and not knowing that he was swerving into their lane. Now they claim that it's very unusual for the media to do this, and it rings some alarm bells. They said that the police were wearing plain clothes and that Tyre Nichols had no way of knowing that he had been pulled over by the cops. But they were wearing in big letters, police on their backs. On their backs, which he couldn't see because they didn't have their backs to him, but in big letters on their backs it said police. So it wasn't true that they were wearing plain clothes. And I kind of wondered about that, why they said that they were wearing plain clothes when they weren't. But Tyre Nichols pulled over and said, "But I didn't do anything." That shows he knew it was the cops. But the way they went after him was crazy. It was just insane. The way they went after him was just crazy. I mean, they don't have any brains at all. The way they went after him, it was just a free for all. It was a free for all, and they were stupid. The cops were stupid. The way they treated Tyre Nichols was stupid. They were all black except one, and the white guy tased him, and they didn't file any charges against the white officer. At least I don't think so at this point in time. They murdered Tyre Nichols, and they beat him to death, which is something unheard of in this country. Of police beating a man to death is very unusual, but it happened. And so they beat him to death, and you can be sure, and I'm just going to say this just for your benefit, you can be sure that the elites were behind this murder. Now you'd think to yourself, how could the elites be behind this murder? That's ridiculous. The elites had nothing to do with Tyre Nichols. Au contraire, mon ami. Au contraire. Because the name of the police organization says it all. This is their clue. This is their calling card. You know those murderers that lead up a calling card at the scene of the murder, scene of the crime, so you know who did and who done it. The calling card of the elites is that this elite police unit was called Scorpion. Now, how can Scorpion be a calling card of the elites, you ask? How could the elites be letting us know that they were involved in the murder of Tyre Nichols just by calling the police organization Scorpion? Well, I can tell you right now, there's a sign of the zodiac called Scorpio. And Scorpio is a sign of the zodiac. And Scorpio is the one sign of the zodiac. It's kind of like the devil in the zodiac. And the one thing that Scorpio is bent upon is revenge. Revenge, revenge, revenge. In fact, they say that a real-life scorpion will sting itself to death just for the pleasure of stinging. And so that's what the sign of Scorpio is, a calling card that these elites are into astrology and these elites are into astrology, and they're letting us know that their calling card is that the name of the police organization was called Scorpion, which is very similar to Scorpio, and it means the same thing. Scorpio means a scorpion. So the calling card of the elites were involved in the murder of Tyre Nichols, and they may strike again. They also might be behind these mass shootings, who knows, in some fashion, in some roundabout way, that they could be involved in implicated in the guilty of these mass shootings. But yeah, the elites have their hand in every pie. You've heard of that expression before, have your hand in every pie. The elites have their hand in every pie. And there's nothing they wouldn't try to do. Nothing. So, moving on from Tyre Nichols, I just wanted to add this very briefly, that we're so sad, and we're so sorry for all the people who were caught in these winter storms. The winter storms were especially bad this year. It was like hurricane force winds blowing in to California and Oregon and Washington, and these hurricane force winds swept across the country, turned into tornadoes, and basically bulldozed most of the country. The country is really, really hurting right now, and there's more to do that the medics and the emergency planners have too much on their hands, that they can't handle such a huge load. Some people are still making down payments on their houses and still having to pay for their houses, and their houses are gone. Houses have been wiped out. If they had no insurance, and insurance may refuse to pay out anyway in the event of these natural disasters, because if they paid out, they'd be bankrupt. There's just too many. The whole country, practically the whole of the U.S. has been demolished, and it's not even making the news. It made the news while it was happening, while the drama was unfolding. But now that there's people who are homeless, who are out on the street, or who can't return to their homes because their homes are underwater, those people are being ignored by the elites. The elites are making sure that no one knows about the people who are suffering in this country right now. There's just so many people who no matter how disaster prepared they weren't prepared for this. They weren't prepared to lose it all. And so, what can we do to help them? I guess you can give generously. You can give to the Red Cross. They're the only ones on the ground helping anyone right now. But, yeah, there was an earthquake in Turkey and Syria. But my heart is at home, and I'm sorry for the people who suffered such horrific torrential rains, flooding, ice on the roads, and the loss of their homes, the destruction of their homes by hurricanes and tornadoes, hurricane force winds and tornadoes. I'm sorry, and we should do something to help you. Give generously, give what you can, take someone in, take in a family, whatever you can do. Whatever you can do for these people in America who are suffering. Here's something interesting. Have you ever heard the expression about the wing of the butterfly? The wing of the butterfly goes like this. It's the wing of the butterfly. The wing of the butterfly can result in a hurricane, so they say. So they claim that a hurricane can begin with a butterfly's wing. Well, we don't need anything to do anything as subtle as a butterfly wing to start a hurricane. If you have advanced technology, advanced computers that can model the weather and know for days in advance what the weather is going to be like, maybe even a month in advance, you might know what the weather is going to be like with these advanced computer systems that model the weather. Well, if you're aware of every vector that's out there and you have a computer that's powerful enough to measure all the vectors, you don't need a butterfly's wing. You can just have a blowing machine and just the right spot on Earth. A blowing machine, and then you can start a hurricane. Seems unreal, right? But that's how advanced these things have gotten to be. That's how advanced these things have gotten to be, is that they could maybe start a hurricane. Who would want to start a hurricane? Well, the hurricane came from across the Pacific, so it had to have started somewhere around China. And that leads me into my next foray into the subject of spy balloons. China sent a spy balloon to America. Okay, they pretended it was a weather balloon, but it was not a weather balloon. It was a spy balloon sent by China to the U.S., covering the states that had the most advanced technology that they wanted to spy on us for. They wanted to spy on Alaska, Montana, Missouri, Kansas, South Carolina, and North Carolina. That was the path trodden by the balloon. The balloon went over all of our military facilities, and they waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And meanwhile, I was thinking to myself, please, 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 somebody with a gun, go and shoot that balloon out of the sky. Somebody with a gun, please go shoot that balloon out of the sky. I just wanted the balloon down, and I wanted it down now. They didn't take down the balloon. They let it cross the entire country, broadcasting its findings back to its home satellite in China. And then it finally made its way to the Atlantic Ocean. And then they shot it down. And then the pieces were lost at sea. See how neat and convenient that was? Somebody in the White House was on China's side. They had to be. They had to be on China's side, because why else would they let it cross the entire country? They said, oh, we were afraid that it would hurt civilians on the ground. Come on, you can evacuate an area. You can evacuate an area. You can round everybody up and make sure there's nobody on the ground and then let it crash. And it was over some very, very sparsely populated areas where it was very unlikely that it would crash into a person or into a house. It was very unlikely. There was the most wide open spaces in America, where there's nothing but fields of wheat and corn. They could have easily taken it down, but they chose not to take it down until it was over the Atlantic Ocean. What a bunch of cowards. And even if it's over the Atlantic Ocean, it could land on a ship. You could make that argument, that it could land on a ship, so what difference does it make if it lands on a house? It's so ridiculous. I don't know what to say about this. It's just so ridiculous. And their excuse that they didn't want it to land on a person falls flat, because they would have had all the parts and all the pieces right where they could find them if it had landed on ground, on solid ground. Instead, they let it land in the ocean. Maybe they thought the ocean was soft like a cushion, but it's not true. If you fall from a high enough height and you hit the water is like concrete. Break your neck, break your spine. And it would certainly break a spy balloon's contents to pieces. So that wasn't a good excuse. The only reason they could possibly have to let it cross the entire country is that they're trying to help the Chinese spy on us. That's it. They're on China's side. That's it. And how did China react? They said, "Oh, you had no right to shoot down our spy balloon. You have gone against many international laws prohibiting you from shooting down our spy balloon." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No, they broke practically every single law, including U.S. law and international law, by sending a spy balloon above us. They're flaunting the law, and they're flaunting that they can get away with it, and then trying to turn it around on us and say we had no right. Give me a break. We have the sovereignty of our country. Of course we have a right to shoot down that spy balloon. Of course we do. They had no right to send it. And it wasn't breaking any international laws. It wasn't breaking any international laws at all. It's ridiculous. So, spy balloon. What are the contents of the spy balloon? We don't know yet. They haven't told us. They're still researching, looking through the wreckage of the pieces of the spy balloon. But they're pretty sure it's a spy balloon by now, and that it was sent by China. It's sort of like introducing us to China. Hello, we're over here. It's China. It's China speaking to us again, telling us we don't need a spy balloon because we've got advanced satellites whizzing above your country even as we speak. But yeah, it was their way of introducing themselves to us, saying, hello, it's China. Hello, it's China. Howdy, neighbor. We're going to spy on you because we don't trust you and we don't like you. We want to take Taiwan, and we don't want you sending your nuclear warheads to us. So, saying love USA. So we're going to spy on you. We're going to spy. Just the way it goes, I guess. Just the way it goes. Spy balloons sent by China. All right. I'm finally getting around to it. I'm going to tell you now about purification. Why do purification? Why? What is the reason for purification? Well, for one thing, it's really good for your health. But for another thing, it is a preparation to receive the maiden goddess into our hearts and into our minds. And the purifying the body helps to purify the mind so that we're prepared for this maiden. And part of it is prayer, praying to goddess and inviting her in, inviting goddess into our hearts and minds. And the purification, when we purify ourselves of impurities in our bodies and get rid of putrid matter, we invite the goddess in. Now, I am not going to say that you can't eat meat. I'm not going to make you go without meat for an entire month, but I would like you to abstain from meat during the day and just eat meat at dinner time because that helps the purification go faster if there's less meat. If there's less meat in your diet, the less meat there is in your diet, the better, because you want to sweep through your intestinal tract and get rid of anything that's putrid and all the toxins. So what do you eat during the day? Soups, smoothies, and salads. No meat, no cheese. You can have a little bit of milk. That's okay, a little bit of milk, not a lot. And you can have salad dressing. That's fine for your salad. And I also want you to cut grain out of your diet completely during purification. You can have it any other time of year, but purification, you don't want any grain. Why? Why would I ask you to cut grains out of your diet? Well, because grain is constipating. It's so constipating. Make sure your stool into a brick. It literally is like eating school paste. It solidifies your stool into a brick and makes it impossible to pass. So I want you to cut the grains out of your diet just for purification the whole time. You can't even have it for dinner. Just no grains at all. Potatoes are okay because even though they're starchy, they have quite a bit of fiber in them. But grains, no. Not even whole grains, because whole grains, they still constipate. They don't contain enough fiber to move them along. So that's the purification diet. Now, as far as the prayers go, you want to call to Maiden Goddess and invite her into your heart and mind at this time. And during the festival of the Maiden, you will take a ritual bath, and you can use bath salts and whatever else you use. Not the drug, just salts that you add to baths, like Epsom salts. Okay, and you add those to your bath, and it makes it fizz. It's a fizzy bath. It's a nice bath. So that's it for purification. I hope you have a wonderful purification. Now's the time to stock your shelves and your kitchen shelves with foods for purification. Stock your refrigerator full of fresh vegetables and fruits. You can have vegetables and fruits anytime during purification, and I recommend you eat a lot of them, a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruits. Don't skip. This is the time to eat the vegetables and the fruits. Break them out. So, you got a day to prepare for purification. And I'll see you next time.